This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
A Torah Anytime original series.
On January 27, 1959, a group of 9 Russian hikers led by a man named Igor Dyatlov set out on a skiing expedition in the Ural Mountains. These mountains are in northern Russia, and this was supposed to be a pretty routine research trip, skiing through the northern Russian wilderness. What happened next became one of the most intense and bizarre mysteries in modern history. Days go by, and they don't return. Weeks go by, and their families panic. Where are they? So in desperation, they send a search and rescue team, and what they found shocked them. The tent is still there, but it's been ripped open from the inside, not unzipped. It's slashed like they were trying to escape something fast. Then they see footprints, barefoot footprints in the snow leading away from the tent. They start finding the bodies scattered across the area, some by the trees, some further out, and strangely, none of them were properly dressed. No jackets, no shoes, like they ran out in pure panic. And then the strangest part, several of them had crushed ribs and skull fractures, severe internal damage, but with no external wounds, no cuts, no signs of a struggle. It looked like something hit them with incredible force without leaving a mark. But what? Nothing about this story added up. The whole world heard about this story. Major media and investigators came to the site, and they all had different theories. But no one could really pinpoint exactly what happened to them. And eventually, people forgot about it, and they moved on with their lives. But there was one investigator who went into their tent, and after rummaging around, discovered lying on the floor was one of the skiers' cameras. So he picked it up, and he brought it back to a Russian lab to develop the pictures. At first, it was just simple photos, skiers having a good time, completely blissfully unaware of their fate that would come pretty soon. But then, the person developing the pictures got to what later became known as the infamous Photo 17, one of the most famous images of the last 200 years. What he saw was this: an image of the forest they were in with a fuzzy, mysterious-looking creature peeking out from a tree. Now, you might look at that picture and think, okay, it's a blurry picture of one of the skiers walking out of the forest. But you know what millions of people around the world thought when they saw that picture? They said, oh my gosh, that is a Yeti. That's Bigfoot. That's a half animal, half person creature. That's who must have killed them. There must be some beast out there who's part human and part animal, filled with unbelievable strength and speed and wit and force, and he must have been the one who killed them. And suddenly the world went into a frenzy. Wow, such power, such raw, untamed energy. We need to find that. We need to hunt those things down. We need to capture them, maybe even study them and inject their DNA into ours. We'll crossbreed humanity into something stronger, something faster, more instinctive, more animal-like. And suddenly, all over the world, you started hearing lines and phrases like this. Quote, the only way to understand our full potential is to break free from the civilization that suppresses our true, raw instincts, something creatures like the Yeti might symbolize. Or you saw lines like, what if the Yeti wasn't just a monster of the mountains, but a mirror of what we could be if we stripped away our overly complicated consciousness and returned to a more instinctual way of being? Or you heard lines like, the Yeti as a symbol shows us the power of living untamed. To live like animals, unburdened by societal expectations, is to unlock the deepest parts of our being. This was the feeling in the world at that time. And so the Soviets went all over the earth in search of these Yetis. The Germans went as far as Tibet looking for these powerful unknown species. Cryptozoologists all over the world became completely transfixed on finding these creatures, all to bring humanity a little closer to animals, because that is the direction the world keeps pulling in. More instinct, less restraint, less consciousness, more impulse, less meaning, more stimulation, less man, a little more beast. And here is where Pesach flips everything upside down. Because Pesach is the opposite journey. Pesach is the yontiv that we go from being like animals to becoming something a little closer to angels. And while the rest of the world is forever chasing the next way to become more animalistic, more instinct, more dopamine, more appetite, more feel now and think later, we sit at a table and raise a glass of wine celebrating soulfulness. We remind ourselves that in this world, we're not chasing stimulation, we're building awareness. We're not becoming more impulsive, we're becoming more conscious. We're not unlocking the Yeti within us. We're stepping out of Mitzrayim, out of chaos, out of raw instincts, and into a dazzling life of meaning. And so, while the rest of the world is chasing the latest version of the Yeti that's out there, this Pesach, take a moment to remind yourself that you were taken out of Mitzrayim to play chess in a world that's playing checkers, to be an eagle in a world of chickens, to rise up and be a man in a world that keeps trying to turn you into an animal.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.